I'm at Banana Republic to try to get some pajama pants that actually like don't come up to my fucking knee, and I'm doing my best to like justify them as not being a form of male Spanx or not being a form of slack or scrubs, but I finally find something, and then I found like a shirt too and a pair of jeans I wanted to try on. Everything was like 80% off, so like my energy had a hard time like resisting the temptation to like try something on at the very least. And the cute lady working there said, if you don't mind, you actually have to go through the female dressing room. And I said, I have no problem with that, because deep down I identify with being a shishi bitch. Holla! Thank you very much. And then I did a joke about the trans community. I said, why is the trans community so angry about the song Dude Looks Like a Lady? In the song, Steven Tyler from Aerosmith takes more than a peek and proclaims with surging, mounting lust, oh, what a funky lady, and I like it, like it, like it, yeah. So did Richard Pryor. Get over it already. Holla. Thank you very much. And then the cute Banana Republic lady says, I bet you've got jokes for weeks, which has given birth to my new Indian nickname, Laughs for Days. Holla. Thank you very much. Put a piece of Bazooka Joe on it. Joe Biden. Hayden Biden. Hair sniffer. Legend. Biden can end the pandemic. Will he let doctors who prescribe hydrochloroquine keep their medical license too? Holla! Thank you very much. A stolen suicide note is better than none. Robin Williams spent a career stealing bits, taking them higher, and paying those comics he stole from in the first place as a form of last-minute compensation to assuage their frowning souls for making their material shine way brighter than they ever did, regardless if they killed at the Comedy Store after Louis Anderson or not. So is it too much to expect Robin Williams, as self-centered as comedians are, to leave his daughter a suicide note to explain why her love wasn't enough to keep him hanging on? Holla, just getting started. Thank you very much. Not even Billy Crystal could offer Robin some comedic relief in the end, even after sampling some new racy material on Robin about how Billy Crystal loves black guys because they don't discriminate against pussy unless they get cold feet at the last minute and have to go down on Whoopi on her table spot at The View, even if the same brother, man, just lost a bet to Suge Knight before getting released from the can. Holla. Thank you very much. Losing your memory is super scary, but for a man of Robin Williams' high intelligence and developed emotional empathy for being born an only child left to play army figures all by his lonesome self, who also played Peter fucking Pan for a living for $20 million, couldn't have Robin Williams willed away to summon some old-time improv magic after making the decision to kill himself, and then say aloud to himself, yes, killing myself is the only way out of this crippling despair. But first remember to love your daughter enough to write her a fucking suicide note. Stolen from a Kurt Cobain lyric on Nirvana, unplugged or not. Make her a YouTube video dressing up like Miss Doubtfire, singing, Jesus doesn't want me for a sunbeam. Anything. I know, towards the end, Robin Williams struggled to remember his lines as Teddy Roosevelt on the set of Night at the Museum, such as, why doesn't anybody charge DMX of cultural appropriation for thugging up the Rough Rider brand for all it was worth? I get it. For an extended period of time, Robin Williams was used to being the funniest man alive, who never suffered from speechless, dull man's disease. I just feel bad for his daughter Zelda, who has to take a break from social media on the anniversary of her father's suicide every year because she's emotionally drained from all the effusive fan mail she receives in her dead dad's honor, describing all the wonderful memories her dead dad provided millions of strangers as she strains to conjure up many loving memories left without her heart-punctuated heart thinking, I'm glad my dad made your life so much happier than your own dad could, asshole. But here's a concept. Ease up on sucking off the spirit of my dead dad during the anniversary of his death every year, knowing Patch Adams would have provided me with some modicum of closure if he didn't make it all about him again and left me a suicide note that said 13 reasons why I don't want to leave this world yet, regardless if I'm not the shining comedy star I used to be or not. Zelda, 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 Zelda. And on the lighter side of things, for those that haven't been to New York City for the past year, it is deader than Kurt Cobain's shot at still winning Father of the Year. Holla! Thank you very much! Passing out on fatherhood. So what's it like being an unemployed stay-at-home dad? Drinking alone is no longer an issue. I actually gave up drinking beer this summer because I became ashamed from spending so much time hungover, recycling, empty reminders of my lushness as entire AMC Rocky marathons passed me by. Around August, I started drinking low-cal dogfish beer, despite it tasting like circumcised happiness on the spot. Did those low-cal beers keep my ballooning beer belly at bay? Yes, but taking 90 minutes to finish my second Dogfish 90-minute IPA was in my best interest if I didn't want to pass out on the couch before my 3 kids got sleepy prematurely, regardless of mama being there to fulfill my glaring lapse in judgment as I pass out on fatherhood before I put in a full 15-hour day like Vanessa Bryant's grandmother, allegedly. Holla! Thank you very much! I don't think caregiver grandparents should demand workers' compensation for lost wages at the bingo table for telling their grandchildren to just say no to dick pics, or from schooling them on the social dangers of twerking for Bitcoin, or from discouraging them to attend pill parties, which play 13 Reasons Why on vinyl backwards, only to hear, we all can't sell our souls to Apple like Trent Reznor and lose our Moody Edge and $700 leather jackets either. Holla! Thank you very much! Plenty of the artists I look up to as boundary-advancing artists drank themselves to death, unfortunately, such as Jim Mojo motherfucking Ryzen Morrison. I even named my first son Arthur Morrison Kornbluth because Morrison creates an actual floated Kornbluth, which is a miracle by itself, and also a toast-worthy miracle to boot. Also, I decided against paying homage to another one of my role models, Albert Brooks, the more sober-minded individual, because naming my son Arthur Brooks Kornbluth would have given my son the permission to be a Jewish pussy. Not that drinking yourself to death makes you a manly tough guy either. Reality is, I'll be the pussy if I duck my shot at defeating my addiction to feel-good binge drinking this winter. Just so I don't have to hear my daughter utter again, you haven't had a beer in 9 days, Daddy? It's very impressive. You've never even made it to double digits. Holla. Thank you very much! So what does passing out on fatherhood have to do with the Coachitarian diet? My 5th book, follow-up to the Great American Jew novel. For starters, Jews in general aren't known as heavy drinkers, and I already feel like a degenerate Jew already for having to Google how many zeros are in a trillion after my daughter asked me once, only for my daughter to reply with, did you really have to Google that, Daddy? Is this why you call yourself a degenerate Jew? Because at 44, you still have to count your fingers for simple arithmetic? After my daughter was born, I gave my parents grief over one winter break in their new Arizona estate home for never framing my published short stories from Fire and Knives next to my bar mitzvah photos, as promised, only for my mom to state, we put them in the liquor cabinet. Scoops. I replied, but all your friends are Jewish and never touch the hard stuff. That's in there. That's still filled with water from junior high. So at this rate, Mom, what you tell me is that my short stories from Fire and Knives including such stellar pieces such as I Don't Drink German Rieslings and Anthony Bourdain, Risk My Foes and Lunch Apart. So what you're saying, Mom, is that all those A-plus examples of flash short food fiction will now get less touches than a Bible at a bathhouse colony in Provincetown. Holla! Thank you very much! Also, making this upcoming winter the locale one of content is related to embracing the vegetarian diet because I'll be relying on my endorphin releases for making another star batch of kosher meatballs and spaghetti like I did for Shabbat this past Friday, not from any excessive boom boom in the sack since my lactation nurse wife has turned our bed into a 24/7 open milk bar 3 kids later, which is the antithesis of our sweaty sex period when the bed actually elevated from perpetual pannage downward in rapid succession, defying all laws of gravity whatsoever. You also don't feel like such a degenerate dad when your daughter slurps up your spicy homemade marinara-made spaghetti meatballs with such inhalatory flourish as the sauce becomes at one with her cheeky, stained face. So yesterday I passed the local bakery on my way to the wine shop to get some wine for my wife and had a decent line outside during like 10 below weather, prompted me to say out loud to a woman on the bakery line, all of a sudden I'm questioning my limitations of love for my children, so much for being spontaneous. And the woman waiting online laughed a long time, giving up binge drinking this winter or drinking as a whole so I could lose the extra 10 pounds necessary for me to finally dunk out next summer during our post-Bernie Mass party with divine powered authority, with my 3 kids looking up to me with well-earned extended awe, will be worth the fight. Because I refuse to pass out on fatherhood anymore. Nothing less will do. Inspiring my kids to think, Daddy, when I grow up, I want to be a daddy just like you, minus the passing out lushy litter part. Holla! Thank you very much! Passing out on fatherhood. Any more than I have in spurts will make my daughter, as she gets older, feel emotionally abandoned like the girl from the Fallen Angel video. And I can't allow it to happen because my Beshert, my sweeter, infinitely funnier, supremely good twin, has filled my life with too much wondrous delight to let her down now. Recently, my daughter said, Daddy, I just want you to take a break from drinking beer so you could achieve your potential. Because this time next year, I see myself in Israel for book signings, promoting the vegetarian diet, floating on the Red Sea, with less dead weight than usual, pulling at my dreams of becoming a big-time star provider, writer, comedian for my family, and being a degenerate Jew dad no more. This is the Do It All Dad Year podcast, a dad-friendly entertainment for you and me. What Gen X dads understand, controlling our kids' economy can make our kids great again. My 3 fuss-free kids, 98% of the time, are living proof of it. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Enjoy your family as much as you can. And if you want to take a break from the news, feel free to buy The Great American Jew Novel. Or just bring it up to your parents. Again, it's a fantastic anti-Semitic qualifier. And as we approach the end of the year, I just wanted to express my gratitude, again, for anyone that's ever listened to this podcast, anyone that's ever liked it on my WordPress blog, because all of you collectively represent the greatest open mic I never had. And to be able to develop my voice and speak my truth and to grow closer to the Almighty by doing everything in my power to maximize and fulfill my God-given, punchy, creative, expressive potential is wonderful. And I feel blessed to have that opportunity. Obviously, I wouldn't mind making some freaking shekels this next year and get that comedy goldmobile. But with that said, I just want to make it very clear that it's great to have this podcast, and as far as a forum to express myself and to speak my truth. But words of wisdom, okay? You don't need a podcast. You don't need a blog. My daughter, she wrote this piece. It was a counter argument piece, and she was arguing for less screen time. I think she was arguing for like one day a week to have no screen time whatsoever. And, it just got me thinking also to my son, who is at my wife's friend's house right now, and he got all excited packing all of his 1984 vintage WWF wrestling toys, which conjure a much simpler, happier, certainly less race obsessed, sex obsessed time. We didn't have internet porn back then just yet. Scale of the Mansion was more than enough to make us happy a long time, but it was before girls on crystal meth and tattoos ruined internet porn forever as a whole for the most part. But the point is that, my daughter was talking about, hey, how you could, instead of screen time, focus more on story time. Yeah, I'll do stories to kids and I'll make up stuff, as I'll riff on top of what I'm reading if I get a little bored. And she talked about board games, and she was talking about writing a letter, which she's done to her best friend Shannon, which I think is like really beautiful. And also think about the good old phone call. I got my start in headhunting. We weren't allowed to email. We didn't even have email addresses. We had to fax resumes, and I got a lot done. I became the man I am today, not because of email, not because of tweeting, but because of throwing my balls on the line and making freaking cold calls, one after the other. You want to advance in life, you need to experience heartache and frustration, which allows you to dig deep, like Stallone when he wrote Rocky. He had $100 to his name, couldn't feed his dog, so sleazy one-bedroom apartment, had a pregnant wife, already had a bunch of screenplays that were unsold. He had sold some TV stuff, but he had no money to his name. He could barely feed his fucking dog. He couldn't feed his dog. But he wrote the screenplay, refused to be a sellout, insisted on starring in it, and the rest is history. So how does this all pertain to what I'm talking about? Rocky's success story, his example of American exceptionalism, and wrestling back in the 80s, and my daughter talking about the importance of taking a break from screen time. What's the overall Christmas message? It's this. In order for you to do everything in your power to ensure a happier New Year ahead, I would strongly suggest making an effort to make more phone calls, send less emails, and don't become overly dependent on expressing yourself through your computer and smartphone alone. Because the best way you're going to find out like what gets you excited is, and the best way you get in touch with your natural voice is by riffing. And you tend to riff better and more truthfully and more with your heart when you're either with people or talking to them on the freaking phone. So don't let this COVID craziness bullshit prevent you from becoming your most kick-ass, expressive, loving, searingly honest, born to star self. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. My son was born on New Year's Day. I call him number one Capricorn for a reason. I pray that after all this COVID craziness is over and after the Bernie mass parties are in full effect, that anyone in this economy bounces back again, the election fraud is overturned, and the evildoers are punished, I pray to God that other men will have the courage and desire to eventually form families of their own so they can experience the beautiful gift of fatherhood and being able to share elements of their youth that made them feel most alive, like wrestling, and have your children also derive the same pleasure from certain albums or bands like AC/DC that you did as a kid too, that really add relish and zest to your days, and to also have the opportunity to take them sledding and have not one but two, but not any three of your children, if you bang out that many, like myself, if you have the opportunity to take them sledding and crash a golf course and have not one of them even come close to clocking on the Putzomatic meter and being completely fearless and overjoyed, and the process uttering, I never want to move from here for 1,000 years. Merry Christmas, and I'll talk to you guys soon.